This video features high-end, limited edition collectibles and is intended for adult collectors. Hey guys, welcome to Toy Chat. This is Max.
And Sang.
So, this video is part 2 of our Integrity Toys Stilettos Out convention discussion, sharing all our thoughts and opinions on the 2024 event and its dolls. This video will pick up right where part 1 left off, so if you haven't watched that yet, definitely go check it out first. It'll be linked in the description. In part 1, we discussed the convention collection, Style Lab, and more. But without further ado, let's finish this discussion and jump straight into part 2.
Okay, so Thursday night was the welcome gala, and we were assigned to a table. Originally, we weren't sitting next to each other, but they were able to work it out, and so we sat next to each other. The first night, it was a little different because there was no centerpiece, so IT printed out these little cutouts for the doll centerpiece, and it was...
So this was because Monaco was the thing of the story.
Yeah.
So Monegasque Society, Eugenia Perrin Frost as Monica Frost, because again, a bunch of these characters are playing other characters in the story.
So anything that Elaine designed, he gave those characters.
He cast them.
Yeah, he cast them.
Yeah. So this Eugenia was the centerpiece doll of the Welcome Gala. I like Eugenia in general. I would not say she's my favorite character, but I do like her. This one, I would say if you are a big fan of green, you will probably really like this Eugenia. She's a lot of green.
Yeah. Yes, so you can definitely tell Elaine produced these dolls, he designed them, because there's an element of craftsmanship that he displays in all of his work. The fact that her kind of shawl drape is a separate piece that connects onto your outfit with a brooch, and it connects at the belt. It's very technical in a sense, and I really appreciate that. As for the doll itself, Eugenia is my favorite parent. I think she harkens and pays homage to a grail of mine, optic verb Agnes,
yeah.
With like that really nice kind of reddish brown hair, as well as like kind of like the nude makeup. So I don't know if that was an inspiration for him, but it draws attention to that for me. But she's very pretty, and with these luncheons and dinners, there's an element of like activity where, you know, centerpiece is limited. It wasn't available for everybody, so
lottery essentially.
Lottery, so
so historically there were some people who would just miss out on the opportunity to purchase.
Yeah, they call there's a table of 10 people, and then they call 8 names per event, and then the 2 people who missed something, they will be the first 2 numbers called at the next event. So in the end, technically, you would leave with 2 out of the 3 centerpieces. But, surprise, surprise, Eugenia was available for everyone at the table to purchase. And let me tell you, people erupted into cheers. It was quite an experience, and it makes me really value that experience. It's like the fact that centerpiece is available to purchase for everybody.
Yeah, I think the crowd reaction to that spoke volumes. I think they should just do that moving forward for all conventions. I think the centerpiece lottery concept, I know you could make the argument that for this convention, they did this to kind of like compensate for the concern and controversy of like most of the dolls not being available there, you know, to purchase. But I think it clearly made a lot of people really happy. And I mean, honestly, convention space is already limited. You already have to enter a lottery to attend convention. It's already a big financial undertaking and a whole bunch of planning and stress and stuff to make it to and to attend convention. So if they want to have 1 or 2 still like sales room exclusives or surprise last minute editions that like not everyone can purchase, that's fine. But this whole thing of making all of the centerpieces like more limited than everything else at the convention, I would honestly prefer they just do away with that completely. I just think it adds elements of stress and disappointment and competitiveness to like convention and with your you know, interactions and relationships with your table mates, and I don't think it's needed.
It could ruin your evening, pretty much. It could,
yes. So I think just let everyone have a chance to all of the attendees have a chance to purchase the centerpieces.
Yeah, and I was talking to Max about it. It's like, yeah, centerpieces should be like a talking point to the meal, like, you know, something to talk to your table hosts and table mates with, rather than like, oh no, who's gonna get it, who's not gonna get it, and then, you know, you're just sitting there eating your meal in silence
and
because you didn't get it.
It's just drama, and it's like, it's not something I think most attendees want to deal with.
And if they want to continue kind of like a raffle aspect of these events, what they could do is bring back elaborate displays in the center where, like, you know, fashion fairy tale, you know, like Giselle or whoever was on like a magic carpet, or like Agnes was on a throne, and they can raffle those off and sell those, and I don't think everyone would be upset not getting that.
That would be great. I don't know, that adds more of an exciting element that doesn't feel quite as much of like a sting of like, oh, I'm one of like a smaller number of people who missed out. And so this Eugenia is very green,
giving kind of poison ivy.
Luck of the Irish kind of. So the doll that I honestly enjoyed the most from the welcome event was the giveaway doll, which was kind of unexpectedly, it was East 59th.
I know.
East 59th is ironically in the same category as like the boy dolls, where you're like if you see more than one, that's like a rarity. It was Eye Candy Victoire Rue. I love her. I think she's so fun. She's so fun.
She's actually, honestly, I almost feel like she's usually, like, she's more detailed than the usual like giveaway doll. Like, she's like bedazzled and like those are custom like metal work. I don't know, realistically, will they ever use that bra again?
It's like a harness pasties like bra, like very risque for East 59th and for a design of Chris's. And it's like, Chris is just like taking, honestly, I'm loving the fact that Chris is taking like big swings the past like a few conventions. Like he also had the latexy BDSM leaning Victoire, that was also Victoire, wasn't it? From Obsession. So it's fun to see. I really like her. I think she's so unique. I do also think, in a sense, she's kind of like a showgirl doll that, like, if you missed out on the opportunity for the IFDC, like, Vegas Poppies, the one that was a showgirl.
There was two,
Yeah, Magic
Masquerade or something.
Magic Masquerade or something. This is a decent alternative for kind of like a similar aesthetic. I really like her. I really like his choice of color palettes. It's almost like a pastel salmon, kind of. It's brighter than usual salmon. I love her headpiece. Her little headpiece is really cool, and she has like bejeweled like underwear. I think she's really good.
I'm very curious because I know East 59 fan base is a little bit smaller than you know, like the bigger IT lines. So I'm very curious what people who don't collect East 59 feel about her as a giveaway to everybody.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like she's really different from the average East 59th doll. So I wonder if this was a bit of a swing to kind of like be like, hey, like FR and like NU.Face collectors, like come check out like this design from this other line.
So that was Thursday night, and then Friday morning for us, but it's lunchtime. The Poppy Parker luncheon was Friday morning, so stereotypical Poppy Parker focused luncheon buffet, and then there was an interview with David where he spoke about upcoming things for Poppy and his other line, True, as well as kind of a brief history lesson on Poppy and her creation, which, you know, kind of spiel that he does every year for newer collectors. So we heard it multiple times already. But it was nice getting to see David and see his inspiration stuff.
I'm really excited for the next True collection, which he said is called Prismatic, and he said that it's very like Y2K influenced with a touch of like K-pop influence, and it looks like it's going to be really colorful and rainbowy and like 2000s, you know, Y2K. I'm really excited.
And he said it's coming soon too, so I haven't recovered from this convention.
I know.
Last collection, I think. Did you buy it? I bought the whole collection. True. The last one? Yeah.
I bought all of them. Yes. And we reviewed all of them. Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I loved that line. R.I.P. Mark.
I know.
So sad. The centerpiece for the Poppy Parker luncheon was Bird of Prey Poppy. She was an A-tone poppy in a long sequined silver. It's not a dress.
It's a bodysuit.
It's a bodysuit.
Like a romper kind of.
Romper thing.
And with a big feather.
With like a feathery, yeah.
This is also a doll that kind of pops in person, and they kind of, yeah. It was kind of interesting because none of the promo images show her ponytail.
No. So she looks like, you think she has like a bun or something.
Yeah, or just like a normal, like high ponytail.
But she has, yeah.
Yeah, she has knots in her hair.
Yes.
And it's really cute. And I'm like from a technical standpoint, like, I'm very curious how that's crafted, because we took pictures, but we really couldn't like touch her. She's alright. Definitely not centerpiece material for us. I think she's a little more simple. I think people don't really like sequins. I heard that a lot.
I'm really glad she has that like bow belt, because I feel like this romper bodysuit thing would be really shapeless without it.
Yes. The reason for her name, Bird of Prey, is in the storyline, there's conversation that she's not actually Poppy, someone disguising as Poppy, who's a villain.
Yes.
And if you look at her color scheme, she's gonna look very similar to a doll later on we're gonna see.
Yes.
With the white and the blue.
So yeah, the centerpiece Poppy
wasn't doing it for you.
No.
Yeah. She was $180.
Girl.
Like, come on.
We adore Poppy, clearly. But I feel like the prices Poppy, you know, the Poppy tax, as we say, because her price has been inching up, and not all, but like some of the Poppies haven't been offering like value that is appropriate for
and
the prices.
And it used to be, like, Poppy used to have a lot of value. Like, they come with bags and purses and, like, coats. But yeah, all the centerpieces was $180, and then they also announced that everyone there could purchase Poppy, the centerpiece. So it looks like the whole convention, all the centerpieces were available for everybody.
We talked about a theory that like we wonder if like the centerpieces were so expensive because they had to recoup like the loss of offering people free shipping.
Allegedly, we're not saying
not just saying anything necessarily, but yeah. Anyway, speaking of poppies that don't offer a massive amount of value, the giveaway doll for the Poppy Parker luncheon was Elusive Beauty Poppy, who is wearing a jumpsuit. And that's it. I do have to say, this, I guess, like, kind of basic or simple dolls are sort of expected with giveaways, but, like, coming from, like, the Victoire we got from the welcome dinner, this is a really simple Poppy.
Yeah.
She comes with earrings and a ring, and that's it.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting, because Max and I, in the past, have always talked about how, like, sometimes the giveaway Poppies are the most valuable or the most sought after Poppies. Yes. Like, Big Eyes was a giveaway doll.
She was kind of a little more detailed, or had a more detailed outfit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then...
Fairest of All.
Fairest of All was a giveaway doll.
Fairest of All was, she's quite a grail at this point. So this Poppy, though, she's based on a specific, like, look.
So she's based on Diana Rigg, who we know as the Queen of Thorns. From
iconic.
Yes, super iconic.
Iconic Queen of Thorns.
Yes, but she was on a show, I think, called The Avengers. And then it's based on the look called the...
Emma Peeler.
Yeah.
Based on Diana Rigg and the...
Emma Peeler.
Emma Peeler, yeah. You can definitely tell this jumpsuit looks very, very similar to that. There were some people also making, like, Totally Spies parallels. And the fact that she's, like a blonde, blue-eyed Poppy.
Yeah.
I would say...
Like Spy. It's definitely outfits very Spy.
Yes. Yeah. I would say as far as the doll herself goes, we've gotten a lot of Poppies that look like this.
I think its first selling point is she's the full-on Bergdorf Goodman screening with the eyes and the eyebrows.
She's beautiful. Beautiful face, as Poppy, often has.
And, I think people who are interested in her are interested in the fact that she has a lot of redress ability. She's very neutral makeup. You can dress her up, whatever.
For sure. All right, so next we're going to discuss the dolls from the W Club Luncheon, which again, this was a separate expense on top of the $750 you're paying for your base ticket. You had to pay an additional $200 to attend the W Club Luncheon, which got you one giveaway doll for that cost, nothing additional, and the opportunity to purchase the centerpiece. At the W Club Luncheon, they generally always allow everyone to purchase the centerpiece.
Poppy Parker Luncheon, the theme was the Swiss Alps, right?
The Swiss Alps.
Yeah, so that's where our destination went to. And then for the W Club Luncheon, we went to Egypt.
Yes. And the centerpiece doll ended up being Oasis Baroness Agnes von Weiss. This was not where I was expecting to see Agnes. I think
Agnes was going to make an appearance.
Yes, of course, yeah. This Agnes is really pretty. She does remind me a bit, I think just her color story and her overall aesthetic reminds me of the Reina from the Fashion Fairy Tale convention that was sort of based on like, you know, Aladdin's Jasmine. This one was specifically designed in like an Egyptian theme.
Yeah.
Her accessories and her whole situation, particularly her bag, we kept wanting to make like Monster High Cleo Denial associations. This is basically a Cleo Agnes, pretty much, in a sense.
I guess Nephra.
You could say that, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know I really liked her. I thought she was very unique. One thing that Jessie does and the IT team does very well is have outfits that are high fashion while also on theme that doesn't look too costume-y, like a costume. Yeah, some people critique it like, oh, she should have been covered in jewels and
hieroglyphics,
Yes, to make her extra, like, Egyptian theme. But, I mean, to me, personally, that would have been too much, like, Spirit Halloween store look. I think this one is a little more subtle. Like, the jewelry gives off that she is Egyptian. The fabric, the styling does give, like, Egyptian theme without, you know, lathering her up with, like, all these little, like, motifs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most impressive aspect of this, in which you kind of, again, this is one of the scenarios you kind of have to see the doll in person, like, to really appreciate this. I think a lot of the artistry of this design comes specifically from the seam work, like the construction of the outfit itself, specifically the skirt. There is a lot going on with kind of the construction and layering of that. It's a lot of teal, I think, overall. I mainly love her bag. I love her bag so much. It's so pretty in person.
I like her hair too. Like you think that like the side swept bang, it kind of like loops back into her ponytail, but they're chopped bangs.
Yes.
And we can't tell it from the photos, but yeah, in person, it's really nice. It's very different. It makes her more youthful, more modern than normal Agneses we usually see. Yeah, I really like her. I know she's very popular as well. Of course, all Agneses are. But I definitely appreciate that, she was available to everybody.
And the giveaway doll was Mirage Giselle Diefendorf, Agnes's sister, which is so funny. I do think it's like, oh my god, it really is Cleo and Nephra. It's like Giselle looks more like Cleo. So again, those of you who know me know I don't really like Giselle. If I'm being super honest, she's one of my least favorite IT characters.
She's
like
Agnes
period.
Before lip filler, facelift.
Yes. So that contextualizes my thoughts on the doll. Cute. I think the face is a little... She has kind of like a nude face. Like she has a little pop in her eyeshadow, but it's kind of a simple color palette for her makeup.
I love the bangs, the fringe. Like it's chopped, like not super straight.
Now, the best part about her, hands down, is her gorgeous dress. And I'm telling you right now, well, we'll probably show it here, but like the in-person aesthetic of this dress, like Sang said, it's kind of like a gradient. It has like a shift to it. This one, it when you move and look at it at different angles and different lighting, it shifts from like a deep, vibrant blue to like a green, and it's so beautiful.
It almost to me like it almost has like this almost has like an electric quality to it.
It's
like almost like an eel.
Stunning.
The promo images do not do it any justice.
I think particularly, I should say, the printed images that we saw initially on the cards, it looked like a flat green or something, or blue or whatever.
Or it just, it's
and
really
it was
dark.
but in person it sings. I mean, it's stunning. I love the dress. It was absolutely gorgeous. And it's the cute little drop gem hanging from it, which matches Agnes's. Is very cute. And you can put these, they have packaging, or Agnes came with packaging that you can like put them together. Kind of like as a gift set, if you would like to.
Yeah, I think she's very pretty. She's definitely very simple. But I do love her little pyramid purse that's fabric, which is interesting.
Yes, it's very cute.
Definitely the dress is the selling point.
The dress, I just want the dress. I know the dress is so stunning.
I wouldn't mind if Jessie uses this dress fabric again.
Yeah.
Or just give me that in all different colors. Like give me in purple and pink and
for sure.
And whatever.
Yes.
Along with the dolls, Carol interviewed all the designers, so Elaine, Chris, Jessie, and David, and they gave some tidbits on like their time with IT, how they got hired, a little bit of a sneak peek on what they're working on. So that was really cool.
Yes, I would definitely say that that's one of the unique opportunities of the W Club Luncheon, is you get to hear more from the designers. It's kind of really a peek behind the curtain of like what's going on in the designers' minds, and some of like what they're working on and things they like and reasoning behind some of their choices. So it's a cool opportunity to kind of get to know them and stuff like that. One little thing I have noticed that has kind of come up in the past is there are, I would say, I'm a little tempted to say certain leading questions that kind of invites the designers to like vent about certain things. And I personally have noticed some folks online speak negatively of that, or that like, designers saying that like, it's like frustrating that like when collectors request certain things that aren't doable, or like when But I think on the by and large, for me personally, it was still nice to
just hear from them
their thoughts, and keeping in mind too, of course, these are live interviews. They have to come up with what they're going to say in the moment, with people filming and hundreds of people watching. So it's cool just kind of learning some details from them, and the W Club Luncheon is a unique opportunity to for a little more.
So right before we get into the final gala, which was the final event, we should talk briefly just about the design competition. We showed it in the vlog, so you have to watch that to see all the dioramas as well as the outfits people made. And we have some really talented people in our community. It was a lot of fun seeing people's creative side. And then the raffle room, which was interesting because like the one-of-kind dolls were not designed by our usual designers, but the guest designers. So you definitely see something brand new. All the money that was raised went to the Trevor Project.
It was over $10,000.
Yeah, $10,000 and a little change. That was amazing, and like honestly, I hope they do that in the future again, because usually raffles goes towards IT and their team, but this year they had guest designers, so that money went towards that, which was a great gesture.
That was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, especially too because I remember in past years it was brought up that like some of the highest revenue from the convention comes from the raffles, because some people like hoard tickets and they're like, I really want this, like I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of tickets. But that was a really great gesture that they did that.
And then we also had workshops. I wasn't able to get into the face painting with Ahmet. It was so sad. And the Victoire was so pretty. Ahmet had the opportunity to design the doll himself, so it was a very neutral looking Victoire. He put her on a FR body. Honestly, she looked great. She looked so youthful, and she could easily fit into FR or a NU.Face. So hopefully next year he'll do it again. I can get in. I would like to own the Victoire, but honestly, some of the prices people are asking for is too much for my taste. But we did take the other workshop, which was also very insightful and very fun. That was customizing stilettos with
Ilona Sava, and if you ever happen to watch this, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Yes.
She was such an angel. She was so incredibly sweet. Her username is IOLYS Dolls on Instagram. We've been following each other for years.
Yeah, since collecting IT,
Yeah, and we finally got to meet her in person, and she was such a sweetheart, absolute angel. And yeah, we took her shoe workshop. And you know, that was kind of a mess for me. I was like, I had a cute little concept, and then like it's hard with like trying to have precision and like be, but it was a fun, relaxing kind of activity.
Yeah, and then she gave a presentation with her assistant about like the process of printing out these shoes, which sounds brutal. It's like she said it was like 10 hours of work from like printing, letting them dry, sanding, and all this other stuff.
And each batch is 10 shoes.
10 pairs of shoes.
10 pairs of shoes, which people are saying like, oh wow, that we would have expected more in one batch.
Yeah.
So 3D printing, and I know I know and follow some other folks who do 3D printed stuff, and to actually like from conceptualization to like a finished, polished product, it's more of a process than you would think.
Yeah.
So it's really cool, and I bought a pair of her shoes at the bazaar.
She does sell them, so if you're interested, definitely check her out. Her shoes are amazing. Like like just like gloss finish on them. Like Max got like a very like iridescent,
really pretty. There was once again the fashion bazaar at the convention, which is essentially it's like a giant sales room basically for people to sell dolls, products, for again retailers, official sellers, stuff like that.
You can find some really great prices.
You can. I mean, and Jesse Ayala himself had a table.
And he was selling his personal collection.
He was selling his personal collection. Sang got Turning Green Poppy for a really good deal, honestly.
Oh, so cheap.
Really good deal.
Retail.
So no, Jesse was offering great prices on a lot of things. So that was cool. And some of the designers were just there hanging out, and
it turned into like a little meet and greet with them. They all just hung out.
That's the thing too. I will say just in general about this convention, you will probably talk to and get to know a lot of like the staff and designers and stuff like that. There were essentially meet and greets basically and signings after every event, and it was usually generally focused on the designer that designed like the centerpiece doll or the giveaway doll of that event. They were present at like a table, and you could view the dolls because again there was only one sample of each doll at the event.
So and also we didn't mention that like the doll cards, like those were given out at each location where those dolls were supposed to be given out. So it was cool. You could like get their autographs and have like the designer like sign them. And so convention, this one in particular, was a really great chance to. I would say at this convention we got more chances to talk directly to the designers than previous conventions. I think the previous one, the only time the designers like interacted with people like has a set time was at the final gala where they were all just like out, and that was very overwhelming because obviously you have to
or if you happened to run into them. So it was really cool. We chatted quite a bit with like Chris and Jesse and David and so that was really fun. That was great. I would say props to that for them kind of creating opportunities to talk to the designers and meet them directly. I would say too, given the situation with no dolls that people could take home and everyone having to kind of take turns looking at and filming dolls in person, I was kind of impressed. There weren't any out of control lines. I think we were dealing with like some lines, like in wait times. I would say the biggest one was Jason Wu expectedly at the final gala, but there was nothing like, oh god, we were waiting forever for like It was pretty cool, and honestly, you were allowed to take pictures with them. Like they would take pictures with you, but I would say they were efficient getting people through without like rushing people. Like you need to hurry up. They were, but it was pretty,
it was nice. And I think the fact that the dolls weren't there, it made you more accessible to like not have to carry all this stuff with you. While you're trying to chat with people. I kind of like that. It was kind of nice.
For sure. All right, so let's talk about the final gala. This was the final event. It was a dinner. It was basically the farewell dinner of the con. We'll talk about the final two dolls. So basically So
when we went in, the usual cutout in the center was covered. So we didn't know what the centerpiece was. So we weren't allowed to look. Where were we? Like what country? Like like Lake Como or something. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was somewhere. It was somewhere. I think we were in Italy or something. I don't know. We'll put it up on the screen here. So Ellen came up and he concluded his storyline with what's going on. So it was this mysterious figure who was like erasing people's memories, disguised as other people. Yeah, I had an inkling it was like an android or like a cyborg kind of situation.
Sang like full on guest.
Yes.
It was kind of impressive. You could see like in there were like basically the puzzle piece like evidence. You could, especially towards the end of the event, the con, you were like, oh yeah, this is totally like a robotic hand. And it was funny too because they mentioned at one of the previous events, they mentioned when they were interviewing one of the designers, they had mentioned that the metal pieces would come back with like the translucent limbs and stuff like that, so that was almost a little hint, Easter egg. One of the things I remember we theorized, I was like, oh my god, if this is like an android like Agnes or something, that would be amazing. But then Agnes appeared, you know, at the W Club luncheon. So it was a cool unveiling of who the centerpiece was, and then basically the table hosts were given the okay to like unveil. And I do have to say the unveiling of the centerpiece doll was quite a moment. And the centerpiece doll was Regenesis, bear with me guys, don't touch me, Dasha D'Amboise as Annika L'exotica.
Yes. So Annika was a character that Dasha played at the ISDC event a few years ago, and she also had like clear arms and legs,
translucent.
And people were obsessed with her, and you know they've been asking Ellen to bring her back, you know, do the clear pieces again, and then he obliged. You know, he had this all set. It felt like the whole convention was built around her. He had this concept of her, and then he built this kind of murder mystery.
Yes.
You know,
and there were cool little like sci-fi fantasy elements. They're talking about, you know, the mystery of like, oh, these characters, like they're for some reason they're losing their memories, and like, you know, they don't know why they're losing their memories.
Yeah, and the build accessory aspect of the Style Lab, you can build this metal clear heart.
It looks like a heart.
Yeah, it's like a little heart purse, and that was supposed to be for Dasha. Yeah, and she was the mysterious figure that was hiring this heist group to steal her heart back, I guess.
Low key, kind of like Marvel. It's like so this Dasha, I mean, it was a cool moment when she was initially unveiled. I mean, you could definitely tell the crowd went wild. It was and she was designed, I believe, by Jessie. And she's like a very like robotic android. It's kind of funny, one way you could look at it is it almost looks like the original Annika L'exotica looks like more of a mad scientist. And then this one's like the robot.
Sure,
Essentially.
Yeah, definitely they used the same kind of fabric and motifs with like the little metal buttons on there.
Yeah, but what's crazy is this Dasha, she has blue hair.
Yes.
Which we do not commonly see. So specifically, this is Cyber Blue. We held her side by side with Sang's travel doll, which was the blue-haired Poppy from the Looks Aplenty gift set.
And we also seen that same blue with the Galaxy Girl and Poppy Parker as well.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, it seems like this Dasha was incredibly well received. And I can see why. I do think it's a little interesting that it feels like the IT community as a whole really loves and embraces certain fantasy sci-fi like themes and elements in dolls like this, and then is just like really not about like certain other fantasy sci-fi elements like Galaxy Girl, Poppy, like with the fantasy skin tone, and being very unpopular.
Honestly, I wouldn't consider very unpopular. I think they made too many of her.
They did.
3,000 of her was a little too.
I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining about her and saying they didn't like her, she's not versatile or whatever. Yeah. But I think, again, of course, everything's subjective and it depends on your taste. But I mean, in general, I really love fantasy dolls. I think she's super fun. Again, this is a little bit of a scenario of like, if in my perfect world, I would have chosen a different character to be in like an android robot aesthetic. Just because in general, Dasha's sculpt and Dasha as a doll does not resonate with me personally. She's not really my favorite character. Of course, I understand that the intention here was to kind of reinvent like a new spin on a very popular, you know, Grail doll. It was, you know, Nika Exotica again with like a new spin on her.
I like her. I think, yeah, definitely Dasha is very polarizing. I think that's part of the reason why she hasn't really made too many appearances. You know, she kind of has that vacant look that works well for like a robot.
That's true. So, I mean, the screening, again, Jesse does what he always does. I mean, even me not really being a Dasha fan, Jesse's screening here, I think he did a very good job with the screening. I think this Dasha looks less iffy or vacant than some other Dashas I've seen. Also, her little like partial faceplate is sick. I think that's a really, really cool accessory. I think that's like a statement accessory. And again, her little robot hands, which I'm curious, how similar are these?
Those are the same hands.
It is the same hands to Mothership Danya. Yeah, so I'm
glad those metal pieces made a return. I mean, we got a dozen of them from like the
They had a lot of them, clearly. I guess they were really difficult to like perfect and produce.
I also like the dresses. Pretty unique too. Like I'm not.
I was gonna say it's a mermaid dress. I was like,
I'm not huge.
Sang is done with mermaid dresses. Yeah.
But I do appreciate there was a few mermaid dresses in this collection, but Jessie was able to like skirt that line from being too generic. Like the cutouts at the hips are really cool. And it's the fabric's really nice. I think it's kind of like a very textile fabric.
It is, yeah. She is a very cool doll. I'm sure she's going to end up being a huge Grail, if I had to guess.
And I've seen some people redress her already, and she's gorgeous. Yeah. I think she's definitely a slam dunk. I think she's already a Grail. And then they brought on Jason Wu. He makes an appearance every year, usually. There's a few years I heard that he hasn't done appearances. And then, you know, we got a really touching, kind of insightful look into his history with IT. I think it's a lot more images and pictures than they did in the past. And he talked about his time. It was really sweet. It was very nice.
He was so young when he started, too. He was like a teenager. I think he said initially, so he got started a lot like earlier in life than I thought. I'm sure we'll show some of that in the vlog, so definitely go check that out if you haven't. And the final giveaway doll, which, you know, generally titled the convention doll, ended up being, of course, you know, one of Jason Wu's favorites, Emeline, who has just made her dramatic comeback in the past like year or two.
So the dress is based on a custom dress that Jason Wu designed that he made for MJ Rodriguez, who was on Pose. I wonder if that was some kind of like conversation they had between, you know, Jessie and Jason, because like Elektra was kind of based with Naja. So Hibiscus Emeline was our giveaway doll. She's wearing this very hot pink dress, and it's pretty. It's pretty. I think of some of the Jason Wu miniature doll dresses, I think it flows really nicely and it really mimics the real dress.
Definitely. I think, you know, one issue we've discussed previously with some of Jason Wu's dolls is that he has these, you know, life-size fashions that are gorgeous, you know, in real life, that are very, very challenging to translate down to a 1/6 scale doll size. There's a few examples of that. I think spring 2017 Elise is kind of an example of a really pretty real life dress, as well as like the hot pink Elise as well. The doll translation, it didn't have the same effect. It didn't really totally feel like it maintained the integrity of the life-size design. Emeline's dress, I feel like this was a good pick, I feel like, to transition to doll form. I think it looks really similar to the real life dress. It's really cute. I love the little side openings and the cute little black bows. And I really like this Emeline screening as well, actually. I like her her pouty, like really, really dark, like blood burgundy like lips. And she has blue eyes. So yeah, I think she's a fun, pretty convention doll. Okay, we're gonna talk about one critique real quick, and I'm gonna try to give like a general summary. So throughout the convention, again, I will show it all, you know, I showed it all in the vlog. Meals were provided at each of the main events. And it was a 3-course meal every time. So So there was essentially generally, for the most part, there was like an appetizer and then an entree and a dessert of some sort. Across the board, I didn't really like the food.
Yeah.
I was
Some
not...
of it was like unedible, to be honest.
Yeah, where there were, I mean, kind of the recurring theme was there were like temperature, freshness issues. Like, there were some people who might be kind of like surprised to hear this, because when you see images or video of it, you're like, oh, that looks so good.
Well, some people like the food. I mean,
Yes,
I mean, it's just our taste.
Our
like
opinion,
the dolls, you know.
Everything's
food,
subjective. Our opinions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else. But there were other people at convention who shared this opinion. But yeah, basically, I would say everything was presented and plated beautifully. I mean, it was especially the desserts. The desserts were plated beautifully, so everything looked aesthetically great for the most part. The flavor and seasoning and temperature and freshness of most of the food was not up to par, I would say, with everything else at the convention. We got cornbread, I think, at the welcome dinner that was ice cold. I mean, it tasted like it came out of a refrigerator.
And to be honest with you, like, the cornbread was kind of like the food at every convention. Like
at the Poppy Parker luncheon, usually at the Poppy Parker luncheon,
This one was dry and it was flaky.
It fell apart and it crumbled everywhere.
It was not great.
Yeah, so I don't know. And then also we had a soup that
Campbell
low-key kind of tasted like Campbell.
To be honest, I like Campbell chicken noodle soup. It's salty. This one was kind of bland, kind of watery.
Yes.
The chunks were small.
It wasn't that hot.
Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't very warm, and we had multiple chicken dishes that were good. There was nothing wrong with it. It was like
a chicken thigh.
A good night at like Chili's. You know, kind of.
I love Chili's.
I mean, we love Chili's. We love Chili's. But it just, I feel like the visual presentation and what we paid and stuff like that, you might have more of an expectation of like a high-end restaurant or something like that. It wasn't really up to par. We do also, we must specify the bread. The sandwich bread.
You know what's funny? Because Poppy Parker luncheon at the last convention was delicious.
Yes.
That buffet
was so
amazing.
good.
I went for second.
I know, it was so good.
And this one was literally unedible. So it's kind of funny because like they had baked apples for the salad.
The salad, yeah.
And the salad was just like spinach.
It was like a spinach salad.
And walnuts. And,
yes.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, whatever. Okay, well, that's fine. And then they had sandwiches.
And the sandwiches, they offered 2 types of sandwiches, which, by the way, one thing that was nice, they don't quote me on this, I do not know if they offered vegan accommodations, but they did offer vegetarian, pescatarian accommodations. So if you didn't, you're like, I can't eat meat, they do have like substitutes for that you have to like ask and deal with that with the staff. But, or you can indicate it ahead of time, I think, on your registration stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Poppy Parker luncheon had these sandwiches, and there was a grilled cheese, and then one with like a roast beef or something.
I think
some
like
kind of pulled pork or beef or something.
Yeah.
And the meat itself was good. The bread broke everyone's jaws. Literally, I mean, it was the hardest
about like
rock. I mean, literally, if any of you have ever seen the SNL sketch with Pedro Pascal of that woman like sawing her steak, I am dead serious. One of my friends at our table was cutting his sandwich with like a steak knife, literally trying to like cut the sandwich, and the bread was hard as a rock. It was hard as a rock.
So someone made a comparison like, oh, this is like crouton level, and it's like, at least croutons you can bite into it. Like, this was dry, chewy.
I have TMJ. It was like not good for my jaw. It was, so that was
I had to give up.
Rough. I would say overall, like, the desserts were the best thing by default, but some of the desserts were fine. We had like a creme brulee. I'm sure there's a name for this in the culinary world. There was a creme brulee without, it didn't have the torched sugar on top, so it was just like the pudding, like, you know, filling. I would have personally rather had like an actual creme brulee. The Poppy Parker luncheon dessert was like so many different textures. It was like rice tapioca pudding with chewy, wet get coconut and pineapple shavings.
Yeah.
It was just a lot.
Mango, but I didn't really taste mango.
I think it was pineapple. But oh my god, we have to talk about the quinoa.
So the W Club luncheon, they brought out quinoa on like a lettuce.
Like a ball of quinoa.
Yeah.
Just straight up a ball of quinoa.
And I was like, is this our meal?
Are they trying to say something? I know.
I was like, I was literally on Yelp looking at like other food options.
Saying straight up, he's like, we're eating after this, right? Like, da-da-da. It was so funny because we were not the only people who thought that, because there were people who were under the assumption like, oh, well, this is a luncheon, so it's like, is this what they're giving us? Like, this is just everything? And then we were surprised that like, oh, okay, they are bringing out something else. They brought out like raviolis, which again, they looked fine. I'm Italian. I have a different threshold and different opinions when it comes to like pasta and stuff like that. The pasta, these raviolis, it was giving kind of like boxed, reheated ravioli, and it was very like the cheese inside. It didn't taste like a fresh, melty cheese. It was like a mealy, crumbly kind of cheese.
Like cottage cheese.
I don't know if there were potentially issues with like making sure everything was hot and fresh and anything like that. I mean, again, there was nothing like crazy extreme. There was nothing atrocious or contaminated or anything like that.
That's the bread. That was a danger.
The bread was really bad. My take on this is it was really frustrating because Sang and I, there was a restaurant inside the Regency Hyatt Reston that was called Capital Burger, and it was
delicious.
Yes. It was so good, and it was inside the hotel. Sang and I also, we went to this like a walking distance like Italian restaurant. It was, I don't remember what it was called. North Italia. If you're ever in Reston, Virginia, go to Capital Burger and go to North Italia. Those two restaurants are so good. So we had nothing.
And the bakery was really good too.
Tate Bakery was super good. And so like literally it's like we had nothing but delicious food on that trip except for the event food. So I feel like in the future it might have been better hire this delicious hotel restaurant or a local business, like one of these local businesses to cater the event.
I wonder if that would be like too expensive.
It probably would have been. I'm sure it was a cost thing. I would say to put a focus on the culinary aspect, and again, to be clear, the subjective, some people I'm sure liked the food. The desserts were not bad. Staff was great. They were delightful. Total delight. Really kind, very attentive on top of everything. Just the flavor, temperature, quality of the food was not giving. So I think in the future, I would love to see you just like factoring in the culinary aspect of that experience.
Let's end on a positive note.
Yes, we'll have a compliment sandwich.
Being back in person setting was amazing. It was really nice to go to an event. It's like, this is kind of our vacation pretty much. So it was nice going to a new town. Reston was really nice. We didn't really get to explore too much, but yeah, like Max said, the restaurants and the food nearby was great. The hotel was great too.
The hotel was fabulous. It was in a beautiful, very nice area. We were fortunate that the weather was mild. It was cold, but it was, mild for this trip. So very happy with the location. Yeah, like Sang said, I mean, overall, I loved having the in-person full convention experience again. It was fantastic. We loved seeing so many of you who watch our channel and who follow us. It was such a delight. Thank you to many of you who came up to us and said hello. We got to chat with a whole bunch of you. Honestly, the experience itself was my favorite part.
Oh, definitely.
Hands down.
Yeah, everyone was super sweet. If you don't know anybody, they were still really kind. Our table was great. Yeah, like a lot of you said, use our channel videos as resources and database for conventions and preparing for conventions. A lot of you guys, this is your first time, and I hope you had a great time because you definitely made our trip very fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we ran into people we have never met in person before, who we had chatted online with. The designers and the IT team were fantastic and really nice. Like Max said earlier, like this is the most interaction we had with the team at IT and the designers.
It was great.
They honestly, there was a lot of hiccups. There were the things that behind the scenes that they fumbled with, like shipping the dolls and stuff, but it worked out on our end. But they went over and beyond with like printing out these beautiful cards for everyone to take home. They looks like they expedited one of the shipments, cargo shipments, to make sure that Dasha made it to the convention. So we did leave with a doll.
Dasha was the surprise doll. I'm sure this was mentioned in the vlog, but yeah, Dasha was the surprise doll. She was actually there, and that was a fun surprise, kind of to send everyone home with what may end up being the most popular doll of the convention.
For sure, yeah.
So I feel that was a nice accommodation. I had a fabulous time. Overall, I had a great time. It was really fun.
I think we made a point with this convention to be more involved. I think the last two in-person conventions that we went to is we had other commitments too. Like we were staying at a friend's house, so we just had to travel back and forth. And then there was one where we brought a friend and like, oh, it's DC, we should go see
sightseeing and stuff like that.
But this time we made a point to
It was kind of all about the con.
Yes.
This time,
Yeah, and it really worked out, and like we met so many great people. It definitely made the experience so much more magical.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, you know, virtual conventions has that kind of like convenience and ease, and more people can get involved. But there's something special about in-person event where like, it's irreplaceable, and it's definitely, you get more one-on-one time with other people and being in an environment where like you can really be emerge in like the doll world,
in this hobby that you love. And like I will also say too, just to kind of put this out there for anyone, if you've never been to a convention before, you know, if you're worried about potentially being around, you know, whatever, you know, for the first time, this was really a nice reminder that like on the by and large, like the IT community has a lot of just delightful people in it. Everyone was so sweet. Like people were so sweet. And as Sang said, there were a lot of first timers. And I mean, you know, it's an opportunity to be surrounded with a lot of like-minded people. There were many people who had mentioned that, you know, they hadn't really done something like this, like since the pandemic. And obviously this was the first like full convention since the pandemic. You know, everyone was in good company and good spirits. The vibes were good. The vibes were very, very good the whole time. I think everyone overall enjoyed themselves. Of course, when it comes to dolls, like all other art, everything is subjective. People are gonna like certain things, they're really gonna not like other things, and that's totally fine. It was a ton of fun. Something that was interesting, they did not mention the location of the next convention, which historically that would be done at the final dinner, the final gala. So that was kind of interesting. They didn't specify like what is going on next year. They didn't mention next year at all. They didn't mention it.
I mean, I'm sure this convention was a lot of headache for them.
Yes.
So I don't know if they need to reevaluate, or they just aren't sure where they're going next, or they just want to gauge people's reaction to this event. There was 24 dolls. Most of them are lovely. Were they on theme? That's up to you.
You know, the thing that I feel like in terms of the theme, and you know, we've said multiple times, and I've said multiple times, it's like cohesive thematic elements make me a little more excited about conventions and stuff like that. I do feel like with the virtual conventions, it's harder to convey a theme. I think when you're just watching webinars and seeing dolls and stuff like that, I think having in-person experiences and having like giant LED screens and like thematic flourishes and sitting at tables and stuff like that, and getting story cards and like evidence, and you know, it helps like form a more specific and, you know, cohesive experience. There were aspects, like things that they did that I thought were really cool in terms of pulling together a theme. You know, I definitely appreciate the stories that like Lane like put together. I personally am not really a person who invests a ton in like IT stories and like the little story cards and stuff like that. I'm a visual person, I'm a visual learner. I tend to be like, I want these dolls to tell me a story with what they're showing and what they're giving. But I do think a lot of like the evidence they were dropping, and like, you know, Sang was able to like draw a conclusion and like a theory for one of the final dolls. I thought that was really cool, and that contributed wonderfully towards the theme. I do think if you were just shown this whole group of dolls with no additional context and nothing was explained to you, you probably wouldn't draw a whole lot of like ties to like an android and a girl in a cowboy outfit and like and all these different things. But I think it's one of those things where like when it's explained to you and you have the context, then it came together better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Overall, this collection of dolls is pretty. Like Max said, it's very glittery and sparkly, and I think that,
which I was totally not expecting for this theme. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Yeah.
So this is part 2 of our convention coverage, which this might end up being 2 videos. It's probably like 2 hours long. You might like that. And then part 3 is once we receive the dolls, we're gonna do a haul where we show off the dolls and whatnot, and rank them. Hopefully, our opinions may change, and you'll see what we get.
Well, thank you for joining us for this fun convention discussion. Again, if you have not already, make sure to check out the vlog. There's a whole bunch more footage and information and stuff in that, and there is going to be more coming. The finale of our coverage, once we have the dolls. So thank you so much for watching this discussion. Definitely let us know your thoughts on Stilettos Out and all the dolls, and if you went, what did you think? Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Let us know what you want to see next, and we'll see you next time. Bye!